Hi everyone, this is Martina. I've been absent for quite some time and I've been really missing doing content for you. So let's get back to some more regular posts, shall we? When I work with the small groups in particular, one of the questions which comes up every single time during these meetings is the topic of fasting. So let's explore that a little bit in this video. Now, before I go to the fasting as such, let's define what really fasting is. Because based on my experience, people do talk about the fasting in the context or perhaps call fasting something which I do not believe can be called that way, right? And one of the most common one is so-called intermittent fasting. For those of you who do not know, intermittent fasting is nothing else just to split the 24-hour day in the certain time frames where we do eat and when we do not eat. And the time when we do not eat in the 24-hour window is something between 12 and 18 hours where we do refrain from food, right? So in my opinion, this is exactly what really is not fasting in its true sense, right? But rather should be referred to as time-restricted feeding or time-restricted eating when we do refrain from food somewhere between 12 hours and 18 hours, right? This is supposed to be the regular state of being, and that's supposed to be our regular lifestyle, that we do not eat at least 12 hours. That has some benefits, and we come to that a little bit in a little bit. But this so-called intermittent fasting is most often used for weight moderation in terms of when people like to lose weight, and it really can be helpful in weight moderation. There are people who swear by intermittent fasting, quote unquote, right? That help them to lose weight, which they were not able to lose before. Now, as I have said, I don't believe this is the fasting in its true sense, right? At the same time, I don't want to say that this kind of lifestyle does not have a benefit. Definitely does. That's why I say it's supposed to be a normal state of being, that we do not eat at least for 12 hours a day. And we can go a little bit to the stretch in certain days that we go to 16 or 18 hours, depends on, right? From my personal point of view, and based on experience with myself and with wide variety of clients, as well as what the research and science says, to see some other benefits than to lose weight, than the weight loss or weight management in terms of autophagy, in terms of cleansing. We would need to go way beyond, somewhat beyond the 18 hours of fasting, right? In order to call it to fasting, really. And while the weight loss is definitely important factor, and we do want to, and we do also need to keep our weight somewhere on the healthy limits, let's say, right? There are no other primary health benefits to so-called intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating. There are benefits which are occurring as a secondary result of the weight loss. For example, if somebody is using 16 or 18 hours of refraining from the food and managed to lose substantial amount of weight, it's most likely that they will be able to benefit from this kind of weight loss, also in terms of elimination of certain health conditions, such as joint skeletal issues such as cardiovascular issues, for example, high blood pressure, right? And similar. So these are the secondary benefits which are resulting from the weight loss, which are there perhaps as a result of this kind of quote unquote intermittent fasting or time restricted eating. So that would be one part when we talk about quote unquote fasting, right? Now, as I have said, in my world, in order to be really talking about the fasting, we would need to refrain from food at least for 24 hours a day. And this is supposed to be also the regular practice, at least once a week, perhaps once in 2 weeks, which this kind of practice is supposed to be included in our healthy lifestyle, right? Now, this is supposed to be practiced in the past in many indigenous cultures. We just kind of forgot about it, even though I see the trend lately to come back to this practice more often. So, when we refrain from food for 24 hours at least, there are multiple benefits which we can see. Definitely weight loss stimulation or weight loss promotion is one of those. That's true. Now, when we do not consume any food for 24 hours, one thing that happens is that the glycogen reserve in our liver gets completely depleted. So when we do consume carbohydrates, the glycogen gets stored in the liver and is used for fast energy release, right? When we do need energy and we do not consume any food, this is where our liver takes the glycogen storage and the stores, changes to glucose for the fast energy release, right? So during the 24 hours of fasting, these reserves get completely depleted, which means this kind of food refraining period has beneficial effect on our liver. The liver gets literally smaller. And for people who are having liver issues, primarily fatty liver issues, non-alcoholic fatty liver issues, but even for alcoholic fatty liver issues, this kind of practice, given they do not have any other health problems, such as diabetes, for example, right, can have a great benefit for liver rejuvenation and recovery, right? We have to keep in mind that liver is the only organ which has the ability to renew itself, unlike any other organ in our body, right? So this kind of health promoting from the liver perspective is great, but for that we would need at least 24 hours fasting. And that's where we see also primary health benefits, right? Second thing which we do see, that it does have impact on certain brain circuits or centers that modulate basically how much food we need, right? It's connected to the hormonal levels, it's connected to the glands, etc., etc. But without going into way too much of a biochemistry, really, all we do need to know that when we do not eat for 24 hours, certain brain centers connected to the amount of food which we do need get reset. And so when we start to eat after 24 hours, it is in 90% of the people, we do see that we need less food, or the portions that we do consume are smaller than before that. Now, when you decide to go one day fasting, what I would strongly suggest is that you have, for example, you decide to go on Friday on water only fasting, right, without any food. I would strongly suggest that you compose your fasting period with Thursday dinner quite early, not later than by 7 o'clock. And then you're going to skip all meals on Friday, and the next first meal would not be the dinner on Friday, but rather the breakfast on Saturday, right? So you will be able through this way, because you will be sleeping for quite some time and you will not feel hunger. Through this way, you would come most probably to 36 hours of the fasting, which is an excellent way to seize the benefits which I've been talking about now in terms of glycogen storage, in terms of stimulating perhaps more accelerated weight loss, and more importantly, to reset the brain circuits or the certain centers which would enable you to eat smaller portions when you do start eating after the 36 hours, right? So this kind of practice is ideal way implemented once a week or at least twice a month, like every other week, right? This has been the practice of the indigenous cultures. I've been mentioning it. It has been mostly connected to religious practices, but regardless, religious or not, it does have certain health benefits too, right? So that would be the second form of when we do talk about fasting in reality and the true form of fasting, in my opinion, right? Now, the third form is everything which goes beyond that, and it would be longer or prolonged water only fasting. And this would come to 3 to 5 days, and sometimes even beyond that, when we do refrain from food. Now, first of all, I have to say this form of fasting, and even the 24 hours fasting, is definitely not for everyone, right? It's surely not suitable for pregnant women, for nursing ladies, for nursing mothers, for people who have diabetes, whether type 1 or type 2, for some people or most people with certain kidney conditions are definitely not fitting for the longer water fasting, etc., right? So when you are thinking on doing 3+ day water only or anything beyond 24 hours water only fasting, you need to consult your practitioner, right? So this information which I'm providing are for generally healthy people only, right? And in case you do have any health condition, you definitely want to check, because perhaps it's not for you. So besides and beyond all which I have mentioned, the conditions are definitely not suitable for water only fasting, longer one though. So when you decide to go for 3 to 5 or beyond water only fasting, there are a few things you need to consider. First of all, and the most important thing, is to have the proper mindset. You have to be first and foremost really set up in your head and in your mind that this is what you are going to do, and this is what the next few days will look like, that you are not going to eat any food. Be prepared that you will be really hungry in the first couple of days, and have on focus, have in mind the end result that really, really helps, like what you want to achieve once you push through the 3 to 5 days, right? So the health benefits which you can get from 5 days water only are really wonderful. I'm a big fan of this kind of fasting, even though I have said it's not for everyone. And well, as I have said, you need to be set up mentally first and foremost. The mental setup and the proper mindset, it's what makes it or breaks it, this kind of fast. For my own personal experience, it is really the more often you do this kind of fast, the easier it gets. That's the truth. That's not just a cliche, but it's really true. The more often you do it, the easier it gets. And the sooner you come to the point that you will not feel hungry anymore, right? Now, from the health perspective, what we want to achieve, or why the reason why people do usually this kind of fasting, is the proper detox and the proper cleanse, meaning autophagy. Autophagy is a state where the cells in our body will come to the point of self-regeneration and self-cleansing, meaning the body quote unquote literally eats itself and eats those parts and those cells that are not healthy, that are old, that are somewhat mutated or degenerated, in order to renew and rejuvenate itself, right? That's the autophagy. So ultimately, very simply said, it's a state where all the old cells get destroyed, all the unhealthy cells gets destroyed, and all the degenerated cells get destroyed, and all the healthy cells are able to rejuvenate and literally get younger. So that is the main reason why people do this kind of fasting, right? In addition to the weight loss. Now, in order to achieve autophagy, we need to come to ketosis. Ketosis is a metabolic state where the body is not using the food and the glucose, but it's using the fat, body fat storage, right, for the energy production. For us to achieve ketosis and this kind of state, it takes 2 to 4 days. And that's why it's incredibly important in order to seize the best benefits of this autophagy, to stick to 5 days of water only, right? It may sound really long period of time, and it may at some time even feel quite a long period of time. But the results which you get of that is just amazing. What your body and the human body can do through refraining from food for 5 days. And so a lot of people do 3 days, which is all, I mean, fine. But in order to get the full benefit of ketosis, it comes really after the 3rd day. So, and I guarantee you that when you stick to 3 days, you can do 5 days, because beyond the 3rd day, you are not even hungry. And the more often you do it, you will not be hungry after 1.5 days, even the 2nd day, after the 2nd day even. That's absolutely true. I'm saying from my own experience here, right? So this kind of cleanse is supposed to be done for the health benefits in healthy individuals twice a year. We're supposed to reduce these calories to really bottom zero in ideal case, in order to allow the body to regenerate, rejuvenate ultimately, right? Now, it's a lot spoken about and written about what kind of health benefits in long term, many times terminal diseases, fasting has. Now, to go beyond 5 days, I would say for general healthy people, it's safe to do it at home up to 10 days, right? But before you enter this kind of journey, you really want to make sure that your blood work is done, and you see where you stand in micronutrients and macronutrients, because quite important, definitely in minerals and some trace elements, which are important when you refrain from food, right? So you want to check that out first before you come 5+ in order to do 5+ days. There are a lot of people who do at home up to 10 days. When you want to go beyond that, there are people who fast for 25, 21 days, but that is definitely not what's supposed to be done at home, and it's needed to be done in controlled environment. There are a lot of facilities that really do this kind of practices, where you go there and you stay there for 10 days, for 21 days, whatever you want to, and they monitor you regularly. They do have certain programs. They do really quite comprehensive cleansing and detox activities in order, in addition to not eating, obviously, right? So when you want to go beyond 10 days, you definitely want to do it in controlled environment. There are clinics in a few in Europe. There are more than a few in US, very good one, that do enable this kind of activities, this kind of cleanses, right? Now, in case you find like 5 days without the food completely something unimaginary that is going to, I mean, that is not what I'm going to do and what I'm able to do, there is one thing which could be helping you basically, and that's called fasting mimicking diet. That's a practice and a protocol on its own, which I'm not going to be exploring in this particular video. I'm going to do an extra video on this because it's all scientific and it's all quite precisely created protocol, which needs to be followed. So that deserves the separate topic, the separate video on its own. But for this particular aim, to summarize it, in order to really be talking about fasting and to seize the benefit of the fasting, which are not only on the weight loss, but on digestive system, definitely that when we refrain from food for at least 24 hours, our digestive system gets properly cleansed. On liver health in particular, that with our glycogen storage gets depleted and our liver is basically can rest a little bit more and gets smaller really, in order for our brain circuit certain centers get reset in order for us to eat smaller portion when we refrain from food from 24 hours. To push a little bit the envelope in the fasting and come to the bigger cleansing up to 5 days for water only. And there are multiple ways how to approach it, right? That is something which I strongly encourage for the healthy people. And that is when we really talk about fasting. Anything which is below 24 hours, in my opinion, is not fasting in its true sense. It's time restricted feeding. It doesn't say, I don't want to say that we can't seize any health benefits from that. We can, as a secondary one. The most important one, why do we do that, is the weight management and weight loss in particular, which can be a great help in many ways, right? But that is something which I do not personally perceive as a fasting in its true sense. So this is in the nutshell about the fasting. There will be more videos on the fasting coming because it's a huge topic. And there are tips and tricks how to do that, how to seize the great and the best benefits from fasting, whether is it from time restricted eating, how to set your time and your daily routine properly, how to seize the greatest benefits from 24 hours fasting, few tips and tricks which can help you in terms of longer fasting, 3 to 5 days, etc. So there is a lot to cover and a lot to talk about, which I will be coming in the future shorter videos. But for this beginning in the first place and the first perhaps note on the fasting, this is what I wanted to cover in this video. In the next one, I'll be talking a little bit more about a fasting mimicking diet, which is for those of you who can't imagine to refrain from food for longer than 24 hours or perhaps 36 hours. So stay tuned. I hope this helped you. And if it did, please subscribe to this channel and share with others. It can help the channel grow and it can help to spread the word quite a lot. It's appreciated. Thank you very much. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.